Hi, April here with Aaliyah Creative. Today we are going to be working in my tiny little journal. This is my commonplace notebook. It's where I store quotes that I like and I do a little art or sticker work. This is a fun little journal and I hope that you will join me as we do a quick little project. And I'm going to chat with you just a little bit about some of the things that I'm hoping to bring into the new year and share a little bit of a semi-tutorial here on how to make a quick page. So first of all, I have this quote, and for the quote, I decided to go with stay curious because curiosity is something that it is not my word of the year. My word of the year is kaleidoscope. And if you want more information on my word of the year, I would love to make a video about that. Let me know if you're interested, and don't forget to like and subscribe. So I'm just going to cut out this little quote here and start with that. And then I had this beautiful little piece of clip art, which is from Simply Stories clip art. What do you call it? Die cuts. That's the word. And it would be perfect. Like you could totally just glue this in, put the quote in, and be done with it. And sometimes that is what I do in this book. Um, I do have a larger version of this, so I have two quote commonplace notebooks. But this one, I like to keep it simple. I was really trying to get back in the swing of journaling. I kind of hit a bit of a slump during the Christmas journaling, didn't go so well for me. Just was not interested in it beyond the first couple of pages. So I kind of took a little bit of a break from this type of journaling. So I'm using my vivivacolor sheets, and don't forget, I have a whole video on this. This is the metallics version. So be sure to watch that video as well if you want to know more about these. But what I decided to do was keep it very simple. I'm going to play with these colors, and what I'm going to do is use the flower image there as a semi-reference. So I'm going to loosely block out, I'm not going to use exactly the same color tones. I'm going to kind of use a little bit of where the shadows fall to make things darker, and I'm going to use some of the basic layout, but I'm not duplicating this exactly. That's not what I'm going for, but it's just something I happen to have handy to use as a reference, and I thought it was pretty and it would be fun to play around with these. So this journal, I believe it's a Berman journal. I'll try to link it below. I've gotten really bad about forgetting to link the products below, but I'm going to try to go back and add all of those in for the videos that I've missed so that you guys can access them quickly if it's something you're interested in. I know that it helps me when other creators do that and I want to grab a product real quick or learn more about it. It's easy to follow those links in the description box, but I just got lazy about putting them in, to be honest. I'm all about making things easy. Or, okay, that's a lie. I'm a perfectionist who is trying really hard to make things easy instead of making them really complicated. And that's one of the things I wanted to chat about as I do this easy little watercolor today is the idea of staying curious and making things easy versus trying to make everything perfect and have myself live up to these insane standards that I often have for myself. And I do feel I'm getting better at it, but it's like perfectionism is my baseline. Like it's always there and it's ready to step in and basically insert itself in everything that I do. So I have to make some really conscious decisions and make some habits and really think about things and catch myself when I'm going too far into perfectionism. And the reason is that it's bad for me. The perfectionism, let me know in the comments below if we have any fellow perfectionists, especially if you're a perfectionist who thought you wasn't a perfectionist because you weren't perfect. Yeah, I know that was me. You're in good company. And for those of you who aren't perfectionists, I I do have some envy because it is so easy for me to get caught up in making everything perfect, having this idea of what something's going to turn out to be, and then being really far away from that. And so here I'm just really trying to enjoy the process, following some general lines, loading up some colors and some shadows, but keeping it fun. I will also say that I was pretty much working in the dark here because there are certain times of day that the only way I can get good lighting in here is to use some lights that I have, and it was dark, and I had to turn off the overhead light to avoid having such a glare, and that is just a technology problem. But so I was working in the dark here, which did help with the perfectionism, I think, because it 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 made it where I was less able to focus on perfection because I was like in this little cozy little dark cocoon. Uh, but I'm just going out with this shape of a leaf here, and it's quite an imperfect leaf, but and at first I did get frustrated with it. I'm not gonna lie. When I hit this point, I was like, oh, this leaf is not it's not right. It's not the way I wanted it to be. It doesn't look like the leaf in the picture. And then I had to remind myself, hey, you are not trying to duplicate that. You are simply going in and having fun with your colors and laying this out. So it doesn't really matter if it looks exact. And so once I pulled myself back from that perfection, then things got a little bit easier, and I mostly am proud of myself because I remembered to wipe off my brush and not contaminate my colors like I normally do with watercolor. Um, so that was good. But so I chose the curiosity because the opposite of not the opposite of perfection. It's kind of a hard thing for me to explain here. I should have made some notes instead of winging it like I always do, but here we go. So the curiosity part is if you're being curious about something and you're thinking, what can happen here if I do this? What could happen if I use this sap color green and I draw out this leaf in this way? What is going to happen? Is it going to enhance this? Is it going to draw attention away from it? Curiosity with watercolor a lot of times is what happens when I let these two colors touch, when I let the colors mingle and flow. And I think that that is a powerful thing because you're giving up some of the control. And I think a lot of us, when we are perfectionists, we do tend to have this tendency to want to control everything. And with watercolor, there is a certain degree of uncontrol that you have. Uncontrol. So it was fun to push myself to do this, to use these colors that are very much in the brown tones. We all know how I am about the browns. And it was really curious for me to see what this would look like in the watercolor. As you can see, you know, the flower is very light and metallic. And I was kind of expecting it to be darker, and so for a second, I thought, well, you know, what would happen if I did go over this with, say, like the magenta or another bright, vibrant color? How would that change that? And ultimately, I decided not to do that. I did end up using some colors to deepen it up, which came from a place of curiosity. So it's really a shift from that a, going from having a sturdy, rigid idea of what something's going to look like and what you're going to create to being curious about what could happen. Because, yes, I could put a color on here that would just completely destroy what I am doing. And I definitely do that a lot in practice. Art is the process of trying new things, of making mistakes, and allowing yourself to fail. But because my brain does not like failure, I think twisting that where it's more so curiosity rather than failure allows you to look at the results in a different way. Instead of saying, oh, this did not turn out the way that I wanted it to. I used the sap green for the second leaf over there, and I was definitely not entirely happy with the way that the sap green looked, especially in contrast to the vibrant greens. But I just let that be. I let it be something that was existing the way that it was, and not getting caught up in trying to do the. So, another thing that I want to apply this idea of more curiosity and less perfection is with my classwork as well. It is almost time to start the spring semester, and I do have another, could be challenging semester ahead. I do have, again, 2 math classes to take because I did have to drop them last semester just because of everything that was going on with my health and my finances. It was just a stress level that was too much for me. So the good thing about that is I do, know that going into it, math is a struggle for me with my dyscalculia. It is, I learn math differently than other people, and most of the time I have to teach myself math myself. And so I'm really going to try to approach math specifically with curiosity instead of getting so caught up in getting the answers correct. My goal is to pass the classes. I tend to be the type with my perfectionism that I get a little stuck on grades. So when I start to see any grades that are below an 80, it feels like failure to me. And realistically, I know that that is not true. If someone else got those grades, I would not count them as a failure, but toward myself, it definitely comes in as feeling like failing. But I'm really going to go into it with curiosity instead of a place of judgment to see what I can learn, because I did learn from the last semester that I can teach myself math, and that while math is a struggle for me, it is not an impossible thing for me. So, and a little bit differently this time, I'm also taking the class online. I took it in person last time, and something about that was very anxiety triggering, and it made me realize that I I often forget that I have the fear of being perceived, and that as a child, my fear of being perceived was very high. Now, as an adult, it has gotten better. It does not impact my life the way that it did when I was very young, but math class brought that back up, especially I had a professor who would kind of stand behind me as I worked, and it would put me into this freeze that comes with my PTSD. And when I freeze, there is nothing that can happen. Like, the parts of my brain that could work on the problem, they are just shut down. And while as an adult I know that this is ridiculous, it is very real and a very big struggle. So taking it online should alleviate that fear that I have in class of people seeing me get things wrong, or seeing me freeze, or having to leave the room, because I do have accommodations for that. But it was very hard for me to get up and walk out of class to take that accommodation that I needed. I didn't do it, and I should have. But I've learned a lot, and so I am trying to approach that class with curiosity. I also am taking one of my graphic design classes. I'm very excited about it. It's digital media. I do believe it will be a little bit of photography as well. So very curious to see how that goes. I would be absolutely thrilled if I come out of it with photography knowledge that I did not have before. And I'm very curious to see if it's something that I enjoy, or if, like web design and graphic design, it is something that I do not enjoy. So I'm going in now. As you can see, I decided to do the big daisy flower. Instead of doing white, I did some of the chrome. I believe I used the yellow tones here. And I've pulled out one of my other color sheets so that I could have a little bit more variety, and I'm not relying solely on the metallics at this point. But I am using that beautiful green that I was telling you about, the green blue, the Aurora color, which is gorgeous because when you put it on the page straight, it's a very concentrated green. But as you thin it out with water, you get that really beautiful blue color that I'm doing the background of this with. And I have to say that doing that blue part was probably my favorite part of this, and I'm really excited that I didn't give up on this whenever I was back at the leafy stage, because I do think it's really pretty the way that the blue-green complements and brings this out. But back to my curiosity, I am also thinking that in addition to helping me with my perfectionism, I am hoping that it will help me creatively instead of putting that block on myself where I'm trying to perform perfectly, that I instead try to perform creatively and be open to those failures and mistakes, because I know that that is how we learn. We learn by making mistakes. We learn by trying again. We learn by not giving up. And I think that framing it with that idea of curiosity will make it a little bit easier for me, and I can get away from some of that straight across black and white thinking of pass fail situation, because worst case, if I don't pass the math class, or I don't pass both of the math classes, if my grade point average is no longer a 4.0, those things, they really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. What matters is that I try, and that I continue to grow, and that as obstacles and problems come along, that I don't let it affect my mental health in a negative way. That I accept that there are things that I'm not good at, and one of those things, is math. But that doesn't mean that I can't do math. It doesn't mean I shouldn't do it. It just means that it can look a little bit differently. So I decided to go in and put the Stay Curious at the bottom of the page. I used a glue stick. I really should have used like a Mod Podge, or goodness, I've forgotten the name of that other thing that I used that's not Mod Podge, like the gesso, texture paste, that sort of thing. But honestly, it was what was close. So I did end up with some odd blobbage there. And I thought about adding something else to the top, but I think this pretty much gets the point across. So stay curious. There's the original image. And again, thank you so much for watching. You enjoy your day and go create something. Stay curious. Bye.